We all say we want the next level, more money, more freedom, more alignment. But what if every level of your life has a cost of entry? And what if trying to avoid the cost is what's actually keeping you stuck? Because the truth is, everything worth having, peace, purpose, prosperity, has a price tag. And the price is not always money. Hey, friends, welcome back to Line for Wealth, the podcast that helps ambitious professionals and busy leaders balancing work, family, and big goals build wealth without the burnout. I'm your host, Taydonna Nagel, wealth alignment coach, financial educator, and founder of Legendary Wealth Builders. And in today's episode, we're going to talk all about the cost of entry, which is the price we pay to step into our next level of peace, purpose, and prosperity. Because everything you want in life, the business, the body, the freedom, the peace, it comes with a cost. But here's the truth that most people don't talk about. Sometimes the cost isn't money. It's growth, it's patience, it's discomfort, it's letting go of people, patterns, and places that no longer fits into the person that you're becoming. So often we ask for abundance, we ask for alignment, but we resist the process that makes us ready to hold on to it. And if you're in this in-between season right now, the stretch, the uncertainty, the loneliness, this episode is definitely for you. Because those feelings, that friction, that is often the receipt that you're paying for the cost of entry for your next level. I remember when I left corporate America. On paper, everything looked right. The salary, the title, the stability. But inside, I felt stuck. I knew that I was meant for more. I knew that I wanted more freedom, more flexibility, more purpose, more alignment. But stepping out, that came at a price that I didn't expect. The cost was uncertainty. I did not know what the future will hold. There was a cost of being misunderstood, for looking crazy that I would leave my good job without a plan B, without knowing what I was trying to get into or stepping into. The cost of starting over, which I had to do at so many different pivots in my life, whether leaving corporate, whether leaving a marriage, feeling like I'm starting from scratch, which really wasn't scratch, right? But the cost of starting over. I thought once I made that big leap, the peace would come like immediately, right? I would automatically feel free. But instead, I found myself in some lonely in-between seasons where I wasn't quite yet who I was becoming, but I definitely wasn't who I used to be. And what I've learned through business, through motherhood, through ministry, is that every version of your next level demands something from you. It costs you something. You don't just walk into peace without surrendering. You don't just step into purpose without a pruning season. You don't just live in prosperity without persistence. There is always a cost. And let's talk about what that really looks like. Because I've once heard said, the biggest mistake we make is complaining about the very thing that's preparing us for what we prayed for. So I'm going to share with you 7 hidden costs of becoming who you're meant to be. So the first is the cost of growth. Think about it as imposter syndrome. You'll feel like an imposter when you're stepping into something new. When you're stepping into a new territory, new business, that feeling of, who am I? Who am I to want this? Who am I to do this? That's not a sign that you don't belong into what you're stepping into. It's just proof that you're growing and you're expanding. Maybe you have not fully embodied this version of you yet, but it doesn't mean that you're not the woman or the man for the job. You're still becoming, you're still expanding. And that version of you that's uncomfortable, it can't lead the version of you that's called. You have to grow into that new version of you, but it's uncomfortable, right? That's the cost of growth. So stop asking for comfort in this season because you're not meant to be comfortable. You're meant to be stretched. The second cost is the cost of faith, right? Or uncertainty. Living in alignment means you have to walk by faith and not by sight. You're not always going to have the clarity that you want. You're not always going to see the entire staircase before you start walking. You won't always know what you're supposed to do, but you'll usually have enough information to take the next step. You may not have enough information to see all the steps at once, but you typically know enough that you could take the very next step. And living in alignment requires trust, not knowing how it's going to all work out, but still moving forward anyway. Because wealth, real wealth, it grows at the same rate as your ability to trust and your ability to grow. So if you can hold steady in uncertainty, you're already on your way to winning, because so many people need all the details in order for them to move. They need to see the entire puzzle before they can get started. So you being able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and to move in that uncertainty, you're already a step ahead. Remember, peace isn't found in control. It's found in your ability to surrender. The third cost is the cost of elevation, which typically comes at being lonely. As you grow, you'll definitely outgrow some people. The truth is, you can't take everyone with you. Your elevation will cause some people to fall off. And it doesn't mean they're bad or that you're better. It just means that you're becoming someone different. You have different priorities, different values, different goals. You're moving at a different pace. And there's going to be a season where you're no longer going to be able to fit in with some of the people or some of the circles that you used to fit into because you're becoming something different. And that space can feel uncomfortable. But that isolation is sacred. It's some sacred work that happens in those quiet seasons, in those times of isolation, in those times when you're being still. Sometimes isolation is simply a season of preparation where you need to get still and you need to get quiet and let that inner work do its work. The fourth cost, and this is a cost I still struggle with a bit, and it is the cost of mastery, which is being bored. Because let's be honest, success is not always exciting. I know we like to think it is, but it's not always exciting. And the people who build true wealth and the most wealth in money, health, relationships are the ones who learn to fall in love with being consistent and being disciplined. And that's not always fun. It's not always glamorous. I can honestly say I do struggle with being bored because I like to do new things. I like to be excited. I do sometimes suffer with that shiny object syndrome, and I like new and exciting and fun. And being bored and doing the same thing over and over, the same mundane tasks, can be a challenge for me at times. But I do realize it is those daily disciplines, the boring routines, the same small steps repeated over and over and over again is what really compounds into success. And as a financial coach, I know this. I teach people about compound interest. I teach people with trading and budgeting, and even as building a business or building your body, yada, yada, right? And working out in the gym, the magic of compounding and doing those small steps repeatedly over and over and over. So I know that alignment and mastery and abundance requires you to do the same things repeatedly in order for them to compound into something so much bigger than you can imagine. Hey, hun, let me ask you a quick question. What does freedom look like for you? Maybe it's waking up without rushing to someone else's schedule, or maybe it's traveling more, or finally having the confidence to invest your money instead of just saving it. If that sounds like you, then join me for my free live masterclass, Invest to Be Free, where you'll learn how to build wealth, create flexibility, and trade with confidence. I'm breaking down the exact mindset and money moves that can help you stop overthinking and start building the life you actually desire. It's time to stop working for peace and start investing for it. Register now at www.legendarywealthbuilders.com/invest to be free. Because freedom isn't just about money, it's also about alignment. Can't wait to see you there. The fifth cost is the cost of healthy relationships. You have to be able to have some hard conversations with people, because peace doesn't require you to pretend. Alignment requires truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. Because every relationship, whether it be romantic, personal, professional, will eventually require hard conversations from you, right? No passive aggressiveness, right? It doesn't mean that it requires conflict. Every relationship, personal or professional, will eventually require hard conversations. It will. And peace, it doesn't mean that you're going to be avoiding conflict. It just means that you're going to be addressing these difficult conversations with wisdom. Because oftentimes, as we grow, as we elevate, things will shift, things will change, and we'll need to develop that voice to be able to advocate for ourselves, to be more authentic, to be more courageous, to be more bold. And if we're avoiding difficult conversations or difficult feelings, it's going to build up an emotional debt within inside us that's going to negatively compound with interest. So be prepared to have difficult conversations, of course, in love, right? With grace. But the relationships that you want to take into your next season and in your elevated season is often on the other side of difficult conversations that you're avoiding having. The sixth cost is the cost of excellence, which can be criticism. That moment that you start elevating, the moment you start shining, people will have something to say about it. It's just inevitable. But their criticism often has to do with their own insecurities, more so than your ability. Sometimes as you're elevating and you're growing, you will get criticism from people. It will make people feel uncomfortable. People will have something to say. Like Tony Roosevelt said, it's not the critic who counts, it's the one in the arena. So don't worry about the criticism. You have to expect that. And I will add in there, sometimes it's not always from a negative place. It can also be constructive feedback, constructive criticism. I think you have to be mindful of where it's coming from, who it's coming from, right? The heart posture of the person. Because there will be people who's just clapping back, who's just shading you, who's just being salty because your elevation makes them feel uncomfortable, especially if they themselves are not willing to elevate or not willing to put in the work that's required. But there are also some people who will be giving you some constructive feedback because there may be some areas of opportunity that you need to reflect on, that you need to look at, that you need to evolve and update. So you need to look to see where it's coming from. And if it's coming from a viable source, is this a person that you respect? Is this a person that you admire? Is this a person that you may actually want parts of the life that they have? Or is this a person who feedback that you admire? Is this a person who life reflects a life that you may potentially want? Because if not, then let it fly. You may not need to really give their feedback any weight at all. So keep showing up, keep building, keep becoming, and don't dim your light just because it makes other people squint. Last but not least, the seventh cost is the cost of starting, which can be embarrassing. So every new level that you step into requires you to be a beginner again. And most people don't like the feeling of becoming a beginner again. Let's face it, as high achievers, as leaders, as ambitious professionals, we're usually at the top of our game. People come to us. We're the leaders, we're the teachers, we're the people that people look up to, that people come to, that people admire. And when we're starting over again, we're usually a beginner. And that could feel uncomfortable because beginners make mistakes. And we don't like making mistakes, right? We don't like to feel that we're making mistakes or that we're failing or looking silly or foolish, especially not in front of other people. But the truth is, you can't master what you're not willing to be messy with at first. So you have to really embrace that season of awkwardness, that season of looking silly, even if it's in front of other people. Because every expert started as a beginner. Every expert was embarrassed at some point, made a rookie mistake. Every coach stumbled the ball at some point. So you kind of got to get over being embarrassed, because the faster you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, the faster you actually grow. So don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail forward. So let's move into our align move of the week, which is a simple, powerful action that you could take to bring your money, mindset, and life into deeper alignment. Because let's face it, listening is good, listening is cool, but alignment happens when you actually take action. So here's what I want you to reflect on. What cost of entry are you being asked to pay right now in your life? And are you resisting it, or are you embracing it? Because maybe you're being asked to let go of something that you're trying to hold on to. Maybe the cost is patience for you. Maybe you're trying to rush something that you need to sit in for a little bit. Maybe it's the cost of showing up again and again and again, even when no one's clapping for you. Whatever it is, trust me, it's not punishment. It's preparation. You cannot live richly if you're not willing to grow deeply. The peace, purpose, and prosperity that you desire will always come at a cost. The question is, are you willing to pay it? So if it feels heavy right now, if life feels a little uncertain, or maybe even a little lonely, maybe that's not a sign that you're off track. Maybe that's the receipt that you're paying the cost of entry to your next level of elevation. Because peace will cost you letting go. Purpose will cost you getting realigned. And prosperity will cost your persistence. So thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Align for Wealth. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who's walking through a growth season of their own. And if you're ready to take your alignment even deeper, not to just build wealth, but to build aligned wealth, join me for my next free live masterclass, Invest to Be Free. It's all about creating flexibility, building confidence as an investor, and starting to live life on your own terms. You can register at www.legendarywealthbuilders.com/invest to be free. I'd love to see you there. Remember, the world belongs to those who embrace meaningful struggle, those who are willing to pay the cost of entry. So keep aligning, keep growing, and keep showing up for the version of you that's waiting on the other side. So until next time, stay aligned, stay wealthy, and as always, live richly in every sense of the word.